Welcome back to PSC's Tech Byte. Today we keep on talking about how we can handle throttling when developing .NET solutions. And I want to show you how you can benefit of the Microsoft Graph SDK, which automatically retries up to 4 times for you whenever you get a throttling exception when consuming the Microsoft Graph. Of course, after the 4th retry, it will still give you back an invalid operation exception that you should handle properly, but at least the Graph SDK will try to do its best to help you handle automatically all of the throttling related issues. So, like always, let me move to the demo environment and let me show you how you can do that in action. Here we have a .NET application, which is a console application for the sake of simplicity, in which I'm using dependency injection to initialize a bunch of services, and then I'm going to consume Microsoft Graph using the Microsoft Graph SDK. As you can see here in the packages of my solution, I'm using Microsoft Graph, as well as the extensions for hosting and having the dependency injection in place. So I configure logging, I configure the services, and in the section where I configure the services, I simply read the client ID and the tenant ID, as well as the scopes from the settings of my application. And here I'm just consuming my target tenant, providing as the scope the user.read permission scope. Then I use the Azure.identity package to do the authentication, and specifically I use the interactive browser credential authentication model, so that I will use the browser-based interactive authentication. Then I create an instance of the Graph Server client based on that token cache credential, and I provide the scopes that I'm looking for. So I store the Graph client as a singleton, and then when I use my application, I can simply get the service instance of the Graph service client, and I can use the me endpoint to get the information about my user. Of course, in case of any failure related to too many retries, so to throttling, I will intercept the invalid operation exception, and I will say that I have been throttled, and I can show the detailed information about the exception that will occur. So let me run this application with Ctrl F5. As such, you will see the application running interactively on my screen. So here is the console application running, and here I have the browser to do the authentication. I'm authenticated, I can go back to the application and I can see my username. So it works indeed. Now let's enable the Microsoft 365 developer proxy to play with throttling with a proper tool that will help me to investigate any throttling related issues. So let me start the proxy with a failure rate of 100%. So all of the requests will fail now and will fail with throttling. So let me go back to my application, and now we can see that we can run it again, still with Ctrl F5 for the sake of simplicity. I can log in with my account, and here is my application, and here is the proxy. So, as you can see now, the application is trying to make a request to Microsoft Graph, and here the proxy is returning back a chaos with a 429 exception. First request, second retry, third retry, we still don't see any exception, and then we will have a fourth retry, and now we see an exception, you have been throttled, and I see that the inner exception message is more than 3 retries encountered while sending the request. Of course, we can also slightly change, like always, the behavior of the proxy, and I can say that I want a failure rate of 40%. So let me do that. Let me run the proxy again, and let me restart the application. So we can now see that the application will retry up to 4 times. Here we are. Here is the application willing to authenticate the user, and let me do that. But now, if I will go back to the proxy, we can see that we have got 1 request, and actually we are so lucky that the very first one was the successful one, and so we have got the response. We can even try one more time and see if we can see some retries and then the successful response. It is really about statistics, but now here we have the application, here we authenticate again, here we see the request running, and of course we are so lucky that we always get a response. But doesn't really matter, we can see that using the Microsoft 365 developer proxy, we can simulate the throttling exception, and we can see if we properly handle it in our code, even using the Graph SDK, which does a lot of work for us automatically. Like always, thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.